Good day, children. This is a book I wrote many years ago, and it's called The Woodland Adventure of Migly Mant and Cinder. Once upon a time, there lived a tree with autumn leaves, rustic and rich. This little tree was lonely because she grew up in a scrapyard next to a concrete plant, and although she had developed a friendship with the local ant whose name was Migly Mant, she still felt lonely. Migly Mant was a very strong ant and would climb up her trunk, cleaning her along the way, until one day a robin redbreast flew down from the sky. He landed on her branch and began to cry. Migly Mant was sad to see the robin in such distress and went to assist, thinking all he could do was try his best. "Mr. Robin," he said, "why are you so sad?" while stood on a leaf above the robin's head. The robin looked up with surprise in his eyes and told the ant that he was not sad, and explained he had dust in his eyes that made them water like mad. "Maybe I can assist," said Migly Mant. He climbed onto the robin's beak and up to his eyes. He could see the dust, and with his tentacle he wiped the eyes clean, which was a thing the tree had never seen. The tree smiled, and with her delicate branch she stroked Migly Mant on the head and said, "You are a fine noble soul, my dear friend Migly Mant." The robin fluttered his wings and raised his head to a leaf so Migly Mant the ant could climb up his beak. He was overjoyed because his eyes were no longer watering, and jumped from branch to branch, tweeting the name Migly Mant, when finally he came to rest on the branch in front of the ant. He bowed his head and gave thanks to the ant Migly Mant, saying, "If ever you need my help for anything, just call my name Red Rob, and I will be here in a flash." The ant replied, "Actually, there is something you can do for me," as he stood on a leaf on the beautiful tree. "You just say, my dear friend Migly Mant," replied the robin. "I would like to see the land beyond this tree. Can you let me climb on your back and hold on tight as you take flight?" "Of course, my dear chap. Climb aboard," said Red Rob, spreading his wings. Then the tree asked if she could also see the land beyond the yard, and asked the robin to take a twig from her branch. He gently pulled a twig from the tree and could hear a voice from within saying, "Now, my dear Red Rob, be sure not to drop me." "Of course," he said, as he spread his wings once more, saying, "Hold on tight." He leaped from the branch and into the air as he flew over the industrial estate and beyond the road, where straight ahead a large space of woodland and paths housed some magnificent sights. The tree and the ant were silent and looked about in awe and wonder. There they are, flying over the industrial estates. And here is the woodland. And the lovely flowing stream. Yes. Sorry, children. This is quite tricky doing this outside. They looked in awe and wonder at the majestical landscape around them, when slowly the robin perched high upon an old ancient tree. "Good day, Red Rob," spoke a deep voice within. It was Connor the Conqueror. He was the giant in the land and the largest of all the trees. "Good day, Connor," replied Red Rob, as he told him of the ant and the tree. He placed Cinder the twig onto a branch and lifted his head towards the sky, where Merlin the blackbird was flying by. There they are. He looked at the ant on Red Rob's back and said, "Oh,
Well, would you look at that?
He circled the tree, then flew onto a nearby branch whilst constantly looking at the strange little ant.
Dear fellow,
said Merlin the blackbird.
are you aware there is an ant on your back?
He asked, with a confused expression upon his face.
Yes, my chap. I'm taking him to see the land beyond the tree,
said Redrob with a smile.
What tree do you speak of?
asked Merlin the blackbird. There they are again. There's Merlin and Redrob and Connor the Conqueror. And there is Cinder the twig. And obviously there is Migly Mant the ant on his back. We'll turn the page. The tree all alone in the scrapyard about half a mile from here, said Redrob.
Ah, I know the tree of which you speak,
he said while stroking his beak with his wing. Then to his surprise he heard a voice sing. It was the essence of the tree within the twig. She was singing a happy little jig. She was so happy to be free to see the world beyond the yard.
Oh,
what is that? questioned Connor the Conqueror. It is the tree. She is within this twig, said Redrob, as he lifted her up with his beak. Then the twig began to speak. My dear fellows, may I introduce myself? I am Cinder the Cedar, and I am delighted to meet you all. Cinder was feeling in an excitedly jolly mood and relished the land beyond the scrapyard. Never in all her years had she seen such beauty. Welcome, Cinder. I am Connor the Conqueror, and I am delighted to meet you, he said as he bowed his branch. Merlin the blackbird jumped forward to take a closer look at the twig in Redrob's beak. Then he began to speak.
Never in all my years have I seen such a thing. How this twig from a branch can talk and sing. What kind of mysterious magic is this?
said Merlin the blackbird, as he scratched his head. Cinder replied, My dear fellow, this is not magic. I am the essence of the tree, and I chose this twig to carry me, so that I could have an adventure and see the land beyond my tree. Squiggle the squirrel popped her head out of the burrow inside Connor the tree, saying, Oof! What is all this chatting? Can you not see you have woken me? Wearing a frown upon her face and a nightcap made of lace. Look, there she is. Oh, she's ever so grumpy. Because they woke her up. Oh. Wearing a frown upon her face and a nightcap made of lace, she gave a stern stare to Redrob Robin, saying, Really, Redrob, you should know better. I have been working hard through all the night gathering food until the early light. Now please, take your leave and let me rest, so that I may snuggle inside my nest. Connor the Conqueror said, Sorry, Squiggle. We forgot it was the season of gathering for the winter frost. Migly Mant the ant thought to himself, what kind of creature she was that lived inside the tree, as he had never seen a squirrel before, and was mesmerized by the funny little thing she wore on her head, thinking to himself, Look, that's the funny little thing she's wearing on her head. Thinking to himself, who would wear such a thing to bed? Cinder the Cedar inside the twig began to speak, when suddenly she was snatched from Redrob's beak. Maggie Monochrome, the local magpie, had been in a nearby tree, listening to the voice within the twig, and really liked how she sang the jig. Before she knew it, she had snatched the twig from Redrob's beak and was heading towards her nest in the old oak tree, where her children were waiting noisily. Maggie placed the twig down and asked if she could sing the jig once more, but Cinder kept silent. Dazed and confused, she tried to look about to see where she was. It all happened so quickly. Then she heard a voice of her dear friend Migly Mant calling, "Cinder! Cinder! Where are you?" he shouted as Red Rob perched beside the nest. "Migly Mant, is that you?" called Cinder as she looked up and could see Red Robin, Migly Mant and Merlin the Blackbird looking inside the nest.
"What on earth are you doing, Maggie?" questioned Merlin the Blackbird, with his glasses perched upon his beak.
Look, there they are. There's Maggie, Monochrome Magpie, and her 3 fledglings, who are quite noisy at times. Yes, and sometimes they don't give their mummy a bit of peace. Maggie was feeling embarrassed, and her beak blushed for what she had done. She began to apologise, saying, "I'm sorry. I love the twist singing so much, and I wanted her to sing for my noisy children. It appears, Merlin, they are really pecking at my patience and will not be silent. I'm getting quite a headache." Maggie lifted her wing to her head and then noticed something miraculous. Her children were silent, and for the first time in a while she could hear nature's orchestra around her. The 3 rowdy magpies opened their mouths, watched Merlin the Blackbird, Red Robin and Migly Mant, who was still holding on tight to Red Rob's back. Then one of them spoke. "Hey, mister, what is that on your back?" he said, as he pointed his wing to Migly Mant. Red Rob replied, "That, my young fellow, is Migly Mant, the very strong ant." Then one of the other fledgling magpies questioned, "Why is it on your back?" he asked, wide-eyed and wearing a confused expression upon his little beaky face. "There he is. Hey, mister." I'll turn the page. Red Rob replied, "I am taking him to see the land beyond the tree." Merlin interrupted, "Never mind all this nonsense." His patience was growing a little thin as he cleared his throat and looked down his glasses at Maggie, saying, "Now, Maggie, please return the twig to Red Rob so that he may take her back to her tree." Maggie Monochrome the Magpie lifted the twig with her beak. Then the twig began to speak. "Dear Maggie, let me teach you a song, and hopefully your children can sing along." She taught Maggie a short song, and to all of their surprise, the children began to sing along. It appears they were very talented and sang in beautiful harmony, which was soothing to their mother's ears. "That is so beautiful," she smiled as she wiped a tear from her eye and embraced her children inside the nest. "Thank you," said Maggie the Magpie to her new friend Cinder the Twig. Cinder replied, "You are so very welcome. Maybe I can visit and teach you more songs," she said with a smile upon her twig. I turn the page. There they are, singing in beautiful harmony. "I would be delighted," said Maggie the Magpie with a smile upon her beak. Red Rob the Robin lifted Cinder the cedar inside the twig and flapped his wings before taking flight into the sky. As they flew away, they could hear the young magpies singing the song as their mother magpie stood on a branch singing along and waving goodbye with her wing flapping upwards towards the sky. When near the Woodland School of Excellence, Merlin the Blackbird bid farewell as he flew into the nearby tree. That's the Woodland School of Excellence. Red Rob the Robin carried Cinder and Migly back to the tree in the scrapyard. As he placed the twig upon the branch, he saw a bright flash of light, and Cinder was back in her tree. Migly Mant thanked Red Robin for their adventure and asked if he could take them again to the woodland beyond the tree. Turn the page. Red Robin said, "Of course, my dear fellow, but I cannot do it tomorrow, as I have an appointment with Dahlia the Dove." Cinder the Cedar stroked Red Robin on the head and placed a gentle kiss upon his cheeky beak. Red Rob felt himself blush as he bid them farewell and flew away thinking, what a very interesting day. There's the scrapyard. And there's Red Rob and Cinder and Migly. The end. I hope you enjoyed my story.